Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers, including Peter Berryman, John Robertson, Brandon Trano, and IndyCar World Champion Alex Palou. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Good evening everyone and welcome live to Apex Racing TV for round 8, the penultimate round of the ARL GT Trophy Pro Season 2 here at Sebring International Speedway. Sebring Speedway occupies the site of Hendricks Army Airfield, a training base for B-17 pilots in operation from 1941 to 1946. After the war, a Russian-American aeronautical engineer, Alec Ullman, was seeking sites for converting military aircraft into civilian use when he discovered the potential in Hendricks runways and service roads to stage a sport car endurance race similar to the 24-hour of Le Mans, a race Ullman was inspired to somewhat recreate in the United States. Sebring's first race was held on New Year's Eve of 1950, attracting 30 cars from across North America. The first 12 hours of Sebring was held on March the 15th in 1952, shortly growing into a major international race in 1959. Sebring is renowned for its rough, bumpy and changing surfaces. The course still runs on old sections of the World War II era landing fields, where the construct of concrete sections with large seams. The transition between the sections are quite rough and often sparks fly from the undercarriages of the cars as they traverse over them. Much of the track has intentionally been left with its original concrete runway surface. The 12-hour of Sebring is renowned as a race that is even harder on machinery and drivers than Le Mans, and it's seen as an ideal preparation for the run for the famed French race. We are in the last two rounds here this season of the championship and it's certainly warming up. I am Andy Thompson. I'm joined in the commentary box by David Whitehouse, and in the production box we have Lewis Aurora. Welcome, Dave, to Sebring. Last race but one. Certainly could be an interesting end if we see Kiram Havas win this race.
Yeah, hello everybody. It's going to be a thrilling title decider between the two. Prevost, I think even if he wins this race with his points lead, it's going to be tough for him the way the two drivers are going to win the title here today. And the expectation is that the BMW might struggle a little bit more around this Sebring circuit. So as we've seen in practice, Kiram Havas half a second quicker than the field, so he's certainly dialed in. And Prevost struggling a little bit in the midfield. So let's see how they get on in this qualifying session.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in the practice, Kiram Havas was about half a second faster than the rest of the field. So he'll certainly be trying to recreate that here in this 10-minute qualifying session. But before we come into the last couple of minutes of the qualifying for the positions on the grid for this race, Dave, do you want to take us through the current standings so everyone can see the movers and shakers and people to look out for in this race?
Yeah, as you can see on the screen, Thibaut Prévost Valkyrie competition has a 401 points total to Kim Havertz 393. Just that close it is. 8 points there between the two drivers, and we believe the lowest position Prévost will score today is third. So if he finishes and counts that third place and Kim Havertz wins the race, then Kim Havertz will have the championship lead going into the final round. So that would be a huge change, as Prévost has led all the way from the start. Odin Miravang has moved up into third place just ahead of Lucas Lang, but that's only 3 points between those two drivers, so that will go all the way to the final round. And Jeremy Bonsuardo, who's had a bit of an up and down year, had got a podium last time out to jump up into 5th place. That strong result. I think he was 2nd last time out. Mount Powlich is in 6th ahead of the ever quick Roger Christensen. Christensen very quick in the Porsches. This time in the GTs, he's missed a couple of rounds and who still moved up into 7th in points ahead of Anders Lea Jordet. Thomas Ahrens is 9th. He's not with us here tonight. And Marcus Bloom is in 10th.
Yeah, so extremely close at the top of the championship there. You know, it'd be good to see Havas win this race to make it a grandstand finish for the final race of the season. It's always good when a 9-round championship comes down to the last one, but I'm pretty sure Thibaut Prévost has got other ideas for this round. But obviously we heard from him last week, and he wasn't really confident about the way the BMW performs around this track, and was probably more favouring the Lamborghini during this round. So we'll certainly see. And Kieran Havas there, a 158.715, currently heads out the lead of this qualifying session, with Prévost quite close behind him, 1.5 tenths of a second behind Kieran Havas there in things, but he did about 158.5, so probably still a couple of attempts there for Havas to find to match his practice time. But we see there in the background the wonderful McLaren. You know, always great to see that McLaren out on track. Let's hope that Wee Niekamp manages to be on stream a little bit more than he was in his first outing at Watkins Glen. Obviously, unfortunately, getting caught up with the incident, going up through the S's on the first lap, and got pretty much taken out the race there. So hopefully we'll see a little bit more of that McLaren, which is a wonderful looking car and is super quick as well, really, for what it is. And I'm quite surprised it's not used more often, but certainly the car that is well used and well sported here is the Lamborghini. Certainly seems to be the car of choice, Dave, today.
Yeah, it seems to be the car of choice for this general season of iRacing, and you know, we'll try and keep the McLaren off stream as much as possible so Andy can keep his focus, because we know how much he loves that car. We're currently having a look. They were the two core sim racing guys. Here is Anders Lea Jordet, who has just slowly gone about his business this season. He's now in the top 8 in the championship and looking at a very solid finish to his season.
Yeah, he certainly is. And, you know, we've had relatively small grids. If you join us and for the first time you haven't been watching the rest of the rounds, the grids have been quite small, but don't let that fool you. These rounds have been oh so entertaining. These drivers that are in this championship are always at the front of the field and fighting extremely hard. So expect some really good racing here around the 60-minute race that will be coming up shortly after qualifying. Obviously the cars are limited to 60% fuel, so they do have to do a pit stop during the 60 minutes, which always throws up some interesting facts and obviously position changes within there with the different styles that the guys do in the pit lane. So yeah, that's normally around half race distance that we see that action. It really shakes the field up, doesn't it, Dave?
Yeah, it generally does. And so the first time ever, Havertz and Prévost, Havertz not going that extra few laps in a race last time out. So be interesting to see how it goes around this circuit. But I'm glad to see Prevost a little bit close to Havertz than we saw in practice, where Havertz was half a second clear of everybody. We know he was running as a qualifying setup in that because he was only doing sort of 2 or 3 laps at a time. But Prevost only 1.5 tenths off, which means we are going to be in for Song? Where's my tongue gone? We're in for a huge battle between the two. Throughout, and look at the gaps behind. Behind them, third down to 10th is half a second.
It's insane, but there is a big gap between second and third at the moment. Obviously, 4 tenths. Roger Christensen taking his normal position. We've come to see the Norwegian there in third place. He didn't have the best of outings the last time out in Watkins Glen. Maybe not one of his track of choice, but certainly back where he normally is, which seems to be at the front of the RPC Esports cohort. You've got Odin Miravang there behind him in 4th place. You've got Thomas Wangen in 7th. So only 2 RPC drivers, minus obviously Roger being in the junior team. So we only have a big showing from the RPC guys, but only 2 out on track in Sebring today.
Yeah, not all the cars out. Raskolson missed the last round in the Audi and isn't here again today. Just having a look at the time so far, as we see Kim Havertz heading down. This is going to be his last lap because the checker flag is out. So is he going to improve? Prevost won't. He is out qualifying now, so he's second. So it's just whether he can extend his lead and make sure somebody like Roger Christensen can't hit him. Doesn't look like this. 58.6. There we go. Just extend it a little bit more. So Roger Christensen needed to find half a second, which, looking at his sector times, I'm not sure he's going to find. But you just never know. He is quickest in this final sector in this qualifying session. It's not much of a final sector. It's only a straight line and Sunset Bend, but Sunset Bend's so crucial in terms of how you go about it, because if you get it wrong, you can get eaten up by other drivers coming down the pit straight. Oh,
that's not how to take it. There's a perfect question there from Roger of the line not to take around Sunset Bend. It's the thing with that corner is there's so many different lines you can take it. You can take it really tight, you can take it wide, so we'll probably see different lines from the drivers here tonight. But that is the end of qualifying. And the guys will be shortly gridding up for their 60-minute race around here at the Sebring International Speedway. So over to you, David, for the grid.
And on pole position, yet again, we have Kim Havertz for PGZ Assistance. 2.5 tenths clear of Thibaut Prevost, the championship leader from round 1 all the way through the season. Could lose that lead here today if things don't go his way. Roger Christensen out qualifying his main team teammates. Roger Christensen in third for the junior squad, only just ahead of Miravang, who is going for that third in the championship. Lucas Lang, his rival, just behind him. The gap 2 thousandths of a second between those two. Mount Powlich rounds out row 3, 6th place for Force Sim Racing 1, ahead of Thomas Wangen and that McLaren of Weeb Niekamp for BST Esports. Marcus Bloom lines up 9th with Carl Wink 10th, Anders Learjud 11th, Felipe Pacetti, who's moved across to the Lamborghini from Ferrari, is 12th, Brian Kroon 13th, Fernando Torres 14th, and Jeremy Bonsuardo failed to set a laptop.
So differences there with Bonsuardo at the back of the grid, so it'll be interesting to see what he can do here in the race. And yeah, this is quite a track to get off tracks if you're really trying to push it. And it's normally coming down to that Le Mans turn before you come onto the Oman Straight is the normal place that you do pick up the slowdowns. But we haven't really discussed this track as well, Dave. I mean, obviously you've got the really infield section of turn 3, 4 and 5 before they come out on the big bend down to the what can be a treacherous hairpin is it's a very technical part of the track, but you know, because they're running at such speed coming down the start-finish straight, going around that first corner, still in around third, fourth gear, maxing it out, coming down into turn number 3, it's a bit of a treacherous one that always sometimes does cause incidents going down there, so that's going to be an important part of the track. And then obviously the run out of Le Mans to get the maximum speed down the Oman Straight is going to be another hot place for the cars to try and do an overtake. So they're probably my two portions of the tracks to be watching out for tonight.
Yeah, turn 1 is especially difficult with the bumps on that change of concrete to tarmac, and then you run wide and you just get sucked into that grass at times and then spun out to the inside. Part of the circuit they're going around now, really tight, sort of one by one in line. You don't really want to start trying to overtake through this because it can get messy. But then you've got this long run up to the hairpin, probably one of the favoured overtaking spots if you're good enough on the brakes. But get it wrong and you do have the escape road to shoot up if you need to, as you'll see. And Kim Havertz for some reason leading the safety car, not happy at how quickly it's going by the looks of it. Like the safety car's joining the race by the looks of that. But here's the hairpin, and as you can see on the outside, you've got that coned area which you could go up if you want to stay off the grass. And then it is a run down to Cunningham, which again, it's an overtaking spot, but you have to be committed because you can so easily outbrake yourself and run out wide. I think most crucial is sunset for me. It's just, if you get that wrong, you're going to lose a huge amount of time.
It's a race-ending corner, isn't it? You know, if you get that wrong, that wall on the outside is so inviting, and has probably caused the what? So probably, I'll probably say it's caused as much accident as the Wall of Champions at Montreal has in Canada. You know, it's such a deceiving corner, really fast, and you know, you'll see the cars going around there. Certainly, if they take that outside line around Sunset, it's really bumpy around there. So you've got to be really committed to try and get that line if you're trying to take that outside line to slingshot past the car. The more safer line is the mid-track. Mid-track is the less bumpy of the two. Inside is still quite bumpy as well, so you might see a lot of the drivers trying to put it down the inside, down the middle of the track, which is the smoothest part. But if they're going 2x2 wide down there, there'll be some alternate lines coming in, and that's where you're going to see whether there's going to be any incidents down at Sunset. But coming around to the last part, so just coming around to Le Mans now before they make their way down the Oman Straight. An extremely long outlap here, so it's lucky we're able to talk of a lot about the track, Dave.
Yeah, we always talk a load of waffle. Looking at it, Brian Kroon has decided to start from pit lane, and there's no sign of Jeremy Bonsuedo even in the pit lane at this time, so maybe Bonsuedo might miss the start of the race. We'll see. Frenchman not looking like he will equal his second place from last time out, but the cars are coming down to Sunset now, and the pace car will pull off very late into the pit lane. It's a short entry to the pit speed line, which is something that drivers will have to watch when they come in for their pit stop.
Yeah, so it's now over to Kieran Havas to decide when he wants to go. Is he going to go early, or is he going to take it all the way to line? Nope, he does try to go early. Gets a little bit of a run there on Prevon. Christensen trying to put a lot of pressure on Prevon coming into this first corner, but a couple of cars there. Prevon going a little bit defensive around turn number 1, just trying to cover off Christensen, who gets sort of hung up on the outside, and Paulich taking the offline route there, trying to get a move past Christensen, but not quite managing to get it done. So Michael Paulich is the biggest mover at the moment, up 2 places from where he started in 4th place, so overtaking Mirvang, who's down once, and Lucas Lang and Thomas Wangen managed to make it up 6th place on the grid, moving up 1 place. So all the drivers getting away pretty cleanly. Brian Kroon obviously coming out of the pit lane, but I think you're right, Jeremy Bonsuedo has not started this race, so a great round out of Joaquin Glenn is the 2nd place driver. I think he 3rd place, in fact 2nd he took at the end there, Jeremy Bonsuedo, with the incident with Prevot. on the last lap is not joining this race. But yeah, it's been a relatively clean first lap here. Obviously just letting the tyres warm up, and then I'm pretty sure that all the action will start ensuing, and the aggressive passing moves will start coming out onto play.
Yeah, one of them has already happened. It's Matt Powlich, who already had a brilliant launch off the grid, off the rolling start, moved up into 4th place, then stuck it down the inside of Roger Christensen into the hairpin. Clean as you like, made sure Christensen had no chance to return. Powlich up into 3rd place from 6th on the grid, and he has had a rocket of a start. But is that because of the way he may have his car set up to warm the tyres up quicker? I don't know, but we'll soon find out. Christensen is still behind him with Miravang and Wangen. So the RPC Esports team are really going to be ganging up on German very, very shortly. The 3 Norwegians following the German at this point in time. But it is Kieran Havertz who leads by 0.7 of a second from Thibaut Prevost. And then the gap is already opening up. We've seen this time and time again this season. These two just completely disappear into the distance and have a brilliant battle between themselves. But there just doesn't seem to be anything the group behind can do.
No, definitely not. Like you say, you've seen it time and time again between Havertz and Prevost, just pushing away from the field, and it's only taken them 1 lap to get 2.5 seconds, so already showing their pace around this track. But Prevost not letting Havertz get away with this. Obviously we saw him dominate the qualifying session. Havertz putting obviously a faster lap on his last lap as well, just to cement it. Only 2/10 faster than the 2nd place, but throughout practice was extremely quick. So Prevost's going to have a hard day to try and keep in touch with him. But you know, all he needs to do, I think, at the moment is stay in that 2nd place position, and it will literally come down to the last round of the season if it stays like this. Obviously only 3 minutes into a 60-minute session, so still a lot of time for a lot of incidents or change of positions to happen in this race. But all in a pretty much long line at the moment, but like you say, Powlich there in 3rd place, having a storming start to this race, and currently leading out in 3rd over a big train of cars behind him, all the way down, pretty much all the way down the field to P13 is not that far away from Powlich.
Yeah, I'm just having a look, and Thomas Wangen is doing a brilliant job for his teammate Odin Miravang. But Miravang and Lang fighting for 3rd in the championship, only 3 points between them. But Wangen is holding Lang back away from Miravang. Whether he's doing it on purpose or whether it's just the way he's driving, I don't know. But as you can see, Lang is all over back of Norwegian, trying to get through. Good news for this race. Prevost sets a new fastest lap of race, and Lang goes to the inside into turn 1. Will Wangen be able to hold it round the outside? He can do it, but will he run too wide? No, he doesn't. And the BMW stays ahead. But now the Porsche is under pressure from Marcus Bloom in the course in Racing 1. And there is a McLaren of Niekamp just close behind. So this train goes from Thomas Wangen all the way back to Fernando Torres in 13.
Yeah, there's only 2 seconds between Wangen and Miravang for 5th and 6th as well. So they're all pretty much bunched up together. You've got the front 2 that have managed to get scamper away from the field, but then you've got that big long train from Michael Powlich all the way down to Newcamp, and Winkler is not that far away from getting on the back of Newcamp there in 9th place. So it's lining up to be a really interesting race. There's not really a lot of opportunity for the drivers to get away. You know, they'll always be pulled back down the Allman straight with this slipstream effect there. So it's going to be some really close racing. And what it's going to be is obviously cars trying to make a pass on the car in front, not really covering off behind, and the car behind getting a better run out. So I think we're going to be seeing a lot of them moves here tonight.
It's the first time I think we've seen Carl Winkler this season not in the same piece of track as Marek Powlich. So there is, we don't have to try and differentiate between those 2 cars tonight. But Thomas Wangen, as I say, I can just get the feeling this might be a bit of a tactic by the RPC team. He's already defending, trying to make sure Lang can't get past, because Miravang and Lang are that close in the championship that one position could make all the difference. And if he can back him up and just keep him away from Miravac, and Miravac can concentrate ahead. Will Christensen maybe jump out of the way? Possibly. We've seen it this season already, and you could see Miravac having 2 or 3 positions up on Lang.
Yeah, I think that was a great camera angle there, but looking back from Thomas Wangen's BMW to show sort of how much slower that BM is around the corners compared to the Porsche. So there was a slight gap between the 2 cars, but Lang managing to close all that gap.
Powlich.
Oh,
Powlich is in the wall, I think. I think Powlich is in the wall at turn 3, yeah. There's a big lock up in front, and I think he may have spun it. Just see here, does he catch the grass? Yes, he's on the grass and round it goes.
No.
Tyre marks, does he stop it before the wall? For a little tap. Should be okay, but he rejoins at the back. Is that Anders Learjordet just trying to get up the inside of him, and Fernando Torres next to try and get him to that brilliant start by Marek Powlich has been all undone by a little blade of grass, just too much on the right hand side, and around he went.
A classic spin around this Sebring track, you know, and it just shows how much that turn number 3 can bite. He didn't really have a lot of pressure around him. It was sort of like a self-imposed mistake there from Powlich coming down to turn 3, but easily done. You know, that almost like that grass kinks out a little bit before turn 3, and if you get your wheels, any of it on there, and brake hard coming down there like you would normally do in turn 3, you can kick the car out that we just saw there. So from 3rd all the way down to 12th, I mean, that's a bit of pill to take, but you know, we've seen he's got the pace around this track, so we'll see what moves he can make during the race. Still early days, there's still plenty of time to make a lot of positions up, and like we were saying, the cars are all quite close together, but Lucas Lang here putting a lot of pressure on Thomas Wangen, trying the outside line for the cutback over the BMW in front of him. Oh, and Wangen's lost it.
Yeah. Thomas Wangen defending too hard against Lucas Lang, lost it over the bumps, just went in far too tight to Sunset, trying to carry too much speed, lost it well before you normally do, trying to get on the power, and that is an awkward spot to try and get out of with all the cars coming round, and that has now released Miravang's championship rival, Lucas Lang. So while Wangen's done a good job of holding him back, it's now only 8 minutes of the race gone. That's least for the Porsche driver to try and catch his rival, who is 4.5 seconds ahead.
Yeah, that was one of the classic ones coming into Sunset, going in a little bit too hard, and actually just basically losing it well before the apex of the corner, and unfortunately blinked out as well, so it made it even worse. But we see the McLaren here capitalizing a little bit over that and managing to leapfrog Marcus Bloom to get behind the McLaren driver, so you know, profiting there from the mistake that Thomas Wangen made at the Sunset Bend.
Yeah, great move there, and a great piece of judgment by the McLaren driver. Camp, new to the series, as wide goes Lucas Lang as he heads towards Le Mans. Not literally, because that would be a long way from Sebring, but Niekamp really impressing this time out. You know, he didn't get much of a run out last time, and showing why he has joined this championship when he did, and the McLaren going very well as the number 18 sits there in 6th place ahead of the experienced Marcus Bloom, with Carl Winkler right behind him, and the gap between this pack and the pack behind about 2 seconds. Chetty, Learjordet covering Powlich, and Fernando Torres still there in 12th place, just keep picking them off. Ryan Kroon is now 4 seconds off the back of these, and Thomas Wangen 29 seconds back on the lead now.
He's lost a lot of space, and the problem with not only losing it round Sunset Bend and the speed he's lost is actually trying to get back out on track. The drivers are all very closely compacted together, so literally had to wait till every car passed him before he could make a move, and then he was nose up to the wall as well, so he had to do like a 3-point turn to get out, to get back on the track, which is why he's currently so far back from the field at the moment. And that's probably one of the things to be looking for, is that if one of the drivers does have a slight mistake with the close compact that the field is currently at, is that they will lose pretty much about 8 places out on track, and they could easily go from a top finish in this race down to the back of the field like we saw with Thomas Wangen and Michael Palic. But Palic at the moment back on a run here, up 2 places, back into 10th place is Palic, just behind Pedicini in 8th place, but then has a little gap to try and get to his teammates, where, like you said, we normally see them quite close together. Of Carl Winkler in 8th place, but certainly trying to make his move back after his slight little mistake coming down into turn number 3.
Yeah, sorry, I've just noticed big news for the championship. Thibaut Prevost leads this race. He's 1.6 seconds ahead of Kieran Havertz, who has Roger Christensen right on his tail. I'm not sure what's happened. Has there been a collision between the two of them? Let's have a look here. Kieran Havertz is under pressure from Prevost. You just go deep into the corner. Oh, a half spin. Catches that well. Prevost does well to avoid him and pick up no damage on his BMW, but that could be the mistake that decides this championship. We know Havertz has the speed to catch back up with Prevost. Just he's going to be bringing Christensen and Miravang with him.
That was an unfortunate mistake there, and I know you say Prevost done excellent to avoid it, but I don't think he had any option. Literally just managed to thread the car through, because he was right onto the back of Kieran Havertz, and luckily he swung out of the track rather than inside, and Prevost was able to take that position. But an uncharacteristic mistake there from Havertz, normally really consistent around each of the tracks that we've visited. So he's got a little bit of ground to make up. He's already made 0.3 of a second up on Prevost on the last lap. So he will be gunning him down, Prevost in front. So I'm pretty sure that within a couple of laps we'll probably see Havertz on the back of Prevost again, trying to fight for that win today, and he really does need to make sure that he wins this race tonight. Otherwise, like you said, Dave, I think he might be a little bit too far back to do anything in the championship. So Kieran really does need to make sure that he wins this race over Prevost. Even if Prevost gets second, the difference between first and second will close that gap to around about 4 points, which is an achievable gap at the last round. But if it's the other way around, like you're watching on screen at the moment, the gap may be that little bit too much to bridge in the last gap. So we, as a neutral here, I sort of want Havertz to do so we have a grandstand finish for the last round.
Yeah, I think Prevost has to beat Havertz by probably 6 points to confirm it here today, and while the positions are as they are, as Prevost has pulled, he's just pulling over for the slipstream, but very strange considering he's so he is over a second ahead. Further down, Pacetti and Leo Jordet have fallen down the field. Leo Jordet actually behind Thomas Wangen now, and that has promoted Fernando Torres up into 10th, Brian Kroon into 11th. See what happened here. Leo Jordet going up the inside. Oh, that was the number 80 in front. So that was Matt Paulich getting it wrong, and just got all messy, really.
I mean, you don't want to be going 3 wide coming out of turn number 3, that's for sure. And that is obviously the cause of what that incident was. You're trying to get 3 cars into the space of what a one got. Oh, is that Lily Jordet in the background there, as we just missed it, just spin it as well. So just watch the ball from Fernando Torres' car just to see what happened. The 3 of them get really close together, sort of like pinball in that car. And who is that? Is that number 12, I think it was?
That was, No, it was Matt Paulich, Jordet, and Pacetti, who were the 3 side by side. And Fernando Torres found out that his brakes are really good on the BMW. But back at the front, Kieran Havertz, half a second off Prevost. He's a man on the mission after that mistake. He knows he has to beat Prevost in this, if they stay in this 1-2 position. And he probably would have wished he brought the RCP Esports teammates with him, try and put Prevost under a bit more pressure. But it is now under half a second, and the battle is on between these two yet again. How many times have we said it this season?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, to make up that amount of time around this track, considering these two have been so close between lap times round after round, it just seems to be a big gap at the moment between Prevost and Havertz. And Havertz just needs to make sure he makes a nice clean pass here, looking for the run down here into Sunset Bend. Probably best to just keep it behind Prevost through the Sunset Bend and just trying to line him up down for turn 1. Try to get that inside line to push out Prevost into the first corner, because obviously if you are on that inside line and you manage to pull alongside, it doesn't matter if the car behind is quickie or takes a faster line into there, he's got nowhere to go because obviously you're sort of blocking him. We saw that classically in the F3 IGP Fun Series on Sunday night, where pretty much we saw the F3 cars coming up the inside a lot slower than the outside, but unfortunately the outside car could not get past due to the lines that the cars get pushed out to on that first corner. But Havertz at the moment only 2 tenths behind Prevost, and just like a praying mantis behind the BMW at the moment, just waiting for his opportunity to pick the ideal spot to take that first place. And you can see him there coasting again, so probably trying to do like he has done all season, is to try and save fuel behind the big massive BM in front of him, to try and oversling him and get that extra couple of laps on the pit stops on him.
Yeah, possibly so with Havertz, as you can hear the engine just cutting out because it's clutching. But the big question is for Prevost, do you fight this? Because you have the championship lead, you have a 3rd place in back of your pocket. If you fight him and you both end up going off for whatever reason, as long as it's not, you know, it's just a collision, it's not somebody's fault, then Prevost will still have the championship lead. If he lets Havertz go, he won't. So it's a position that he really needs to just either hold on to or try and build the rest of the race along catching Havertz. He's got no choice. And with them RCP, Christensen and Miravac so close behind, if I was Prevost, I would be trying to back Havertz into him, get him into a fight and then sprint away. At this early stage, trying to build a gap with Havertz with the speed he's got as he looks to the inside. No, not quite making it. That's just the line Prevost takes to get the BMW to turn and just point and squirt it out the corner. But these two are really pushing at it, and Havertz not letting him back him up into the guys behind. But they were 7 tenths of a second slower than Christensen last time round. And Christensen bringing himself to the party all by himself.
Does that BMW around that Sunset Bend just looks like a tanker trying to turn its turn around in the Thames. Just seems like a big watering beast going through that. Certainly quick on the straights as the BMW, but not known for its tight intricacies into the tight corners. So that's where the car really falls down, the BMW. But the Lamborghini is your all-rounder car, pretty good on the straights, good on the corners, and good braking distance. And that's where we see a lot of time being made up by Havertz. It's certainly down this part and this section of the track where he really closes up. And then it's almost neutralised down the Oman straight with the power of that BMW trying to get it in. So I think where Kieran is going to find the space to overtake the BMW is certainly around the part of the track that we're watching him on now.
Yeah, it's got to be that tight, twisty section for the Lamborghini because the BMW is just so quick in a straight line. But slightly wide by Prevost, that's going to feed the hunger of Havertz. Seeing a little mistake like that by Prevost, but it's so crucial between these two on who wins this race. You know, saying that these two will win the race, they're the only two drivers to have won races this year, so we can safely presume that at the moment. But look at Roger Christensen and Miravac holding on there. But Havertz will look to the inside yet again. It will look closer than she is because of the line the BMW takes. And Havertz has got to be careful. Remember back to Spa where he just tried to push the envelope a little too far, got that 5-point penalty in the championship, and it's made the difference where he's got to chase to the end of the season. Prevost is dependent to the end of the season, and it's hard as a driver to know which one you'd rather be, as yet again, half a second by Christensen, he's now almost 1.2 behind.
Yeah, certainly closing that gap is Roger at the moment. It looks like Prevost is holding up Havertz a little bit here, but you know, because that BMW is so big, it's just putting himself into them defensive positions over Havertz at the moment, and Havertz is not finding that killer blow to make the pass stick. And what that is doing, as you can see on the screen now, Roger Christensen is just closing that gap to these three. So it's literally a 3-horse race now with that Lamborghini just joining the red one at the back. And you've also got the BMW, the red RPC BMW team behind there in 4th place, Miravang, who's closing in on this group as well. So where these two were actually getting away with Havertz in front, with Prevot in front now, he certainly slowed it enough that Christensen and Miravang have been able to get onto the back of them. So certainly a lot slower than what they were at the start of this race.
Yeah, I'm just having a look through rules because I can't remember. Is there a point for pole or fastest lap?
No.
No, there isn't. So basically, if it stays as it is now, Prevot will have a 13-point lead in the championship. He has a 3rd place in his back pocket, which is 12 points behind a victory. So if it stays as it is, Thibaut Prevot will be champion here today.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. It takes something extraordinary for Prevot not to win it. If that was the case, obviously if he crashed out, then he could possibly lose it. But Kieran does really need to win this race, and there's no if, buts, maybes about it. To stand a chance of the championship, he needs to win this race, and at the moment trying everything he can do. I mean, we're only 22 minutes into this 60 minutes, so still plenty of time left for these drivers to pass each other and get the positions that they need. We're talking as if they're just about to finish now, but it's still such a long time in this race to go. But you know, time and time again we see these two in these same positions, and you never know who's going to come out on top. It's always an enthralling event, and sometimes it comes down to the pit stop of who wins a race and who doesn't. But as we're seeing, Kieran is trying to save fuel where he can to maybe try that extra 1 or 2 laps more over the BMW of Thibaut Prevot in front of him.
Yeah, Roger Christensen, though, is not giving up. He's got nothing to lose in this battle. Prevot obviously defending the lead. Havertz not wanting to get the lead and try and run away with this race and try and have the championship lead into the final round. But Roger Christensen is got nothing to lose. Here for race victories, and he is now 8 tenths of a second behind. Miravang 1.6, the top 4 covered by 1.6 seconds. That is going to be very interesting when we get to pit stop stage, because that is sort of undercut range if you get it right. You can gain back time in pit stop.
Yeah, 100%. You might actually be right by that thing. I see a comment there in the thing that if Prevot wins this, with his drop round score of that 3rd place, because Kieran Havertz's drop round score is a P16, which he got in the first round in Red Bull Ring. Unfortunately didn't have the best of rounds in there, so his drop down score is pretty terrible, so he can't afford to not finish any of these 2 races, whereas Thibaut could afford to lose one of these races and still have that championship lead. So it's just vitally important that Kieran, and I'm pretty sure he knows this, and will be pushing it as much as he can to try and get that 1st place over Thibaut Prevot and that BMW in front. But Roger behind him at the moment is just sat there right behind Kieran Havertz's rear wing, and is going to be a threat if he's given the opportunity over Kieran.
Well, I actually watched Force Action, and the RCP Esports team were running away with it. Christensen took the win on the final lap, so he's definitely hungry all the way to the line for a victory. That time over his teammates, whereas this time it will be to try and win this race. But then he's got Miravang there as well, so he will have half an eye on that. He won't want to get in the championship fight. But if there's 2 people who know the point situation right now, it will be the Dutchman Thibaut Prevot and the Turkish driver Kieran Havertz. They will know every ins and outs of that point scoring system and the championship scores and where everybody's got to finish. And it will be I can guarantee it will be going through Thibaut Prevot's head right now, thinking if I stay here, there is a very good chance that I will be crowned champion and not have to take it to the final round. Whereas Kim Havertz will be thinking, well, Thibaut, if you don't win this race, I'll be right in the fight for it. So there's a lot of pressure on both these drivers, whereas the two guys behind are going, we'll have some fun here.
It's very psychological, really, this, when you look at it. You know, if Prevost loses this race to Havaz, you know, he could have possibly sewn this up at this round. It's going to have a detrimental effect to the way he's thinking going into that last race. And Kieran, the other way round, it would be, if he wins this, it'd be like, all right, I can take this all the way. So, I mean, it's just so different contrast between the two drivers of whoever wins this race. The emotions and the overall emotions for the championships are going to be completely different, and it just intrigues me that we're this close into the race. Obviously, round number 8, we've had 8 fantastic rounds before this one, and it's literally coming down to the last 2 races, and all the mind games are going to be played on it.
Exactly, and as a driver in a championship contention, I've been there in just like, I'm not going to say dinky cars, go-karts. I've been in there, and you hate being the guy chased. You hate it because you just know one mistake by you, and you could lose your top position. Whereas somebody in Havertz's position, it's almost nothing to lose. If you don't win this race, you could lose the title anyway, so you may as well go for it. Whereas Prevost's got to weigh up all the thoughts, and say Havertz does win this race and you go to the next round, it will be no holds barred between these two. But as you may see on the time screen, Roger Christensen dived into the pits that time by an early pit stop on 26 minutes compared to a lot we see this season. He felt he was getting held up by these two in front. Maybe Prevost just trying to control the pace a little bit to keep Havertz from sort of running away too much, and Havertz trying to save a bit of fuel. So Christensen's gone, no, I'm getting out of this. I'm going to get my pit stop done and try and push on into clear air. He's got 4 seconds of air to Pichetti, and then another 9 seconds to Wangan. So if he's got the pace, he needs to deliver it right now, while these guys are just cruising towards their pit stops.
Yeah, definitely. And you can see Miravang there slightly getting dropped by the front 2 at the moment. Back up to that 2-second gap that we saw after the first lap, opening lap there of these two drivers. So pulling away slightly from Miravang there in third place. But still a great outing for him. And like you said, he's fighting for his own position within the championship. So that third place will be a very welcome sight for Norwegian there, but it seems like more of an interesting battle as well for 4th place. Lucas Lang and Marcus Bloom there super close together out on track, so Bloom trying to do all he can to help out the Norwegian there in front of him and try and take that 4th position off Lang, putting a lot of pressure on the Porsche driver as we watch him just go through the hairpin. And the other thing we haven't really talked about, Dave, is the time that this race is. It's right at the end of the day here, and we may just by the end of this race be in touch a little bit more darker and seeing a lot more of the headlights on track, so that could put a little bit more spice into the race coming towards the tail end of it.
Yeah, especially seeing the edges of the track, and we've seen how easy it is to touch the grass and make a mistake here. We saw that from Mark Paulich, who in turn is back up into 8th place. Only 14 seconds off the lead, so Paulich doing a great job at the moment. You've got to remember, Prevost and Havertz haven't pitted, so Paulich doing a great job with his pace at the moment. He's around the 2-minute mark on his pace, while the leaders are doing 59s the last time round. They've picked up the pace knowing Christensen has pitted. Paulich coming back into this, he's 4 seconds behind Winkler, who, if he catches him, Winkler, his teammate, will probably just jump out of the way. And Paulich on a very good run here today.
Yeah, after his slight incident coming down into turn number 3, obviously did manage to get the car up to 3rd place at the start of the race. Had an excellent off the line, managing to take 2 positions, and then just fought his way up to 3rd place. And then an unconventional mistake from Paulich coming down into turn number 3, which is easily done here at Sebring. Literally touched the grass on the outside, which spun his car around, managed to save it. That didn't cause too much damage, as you can see on screen. I think a little bit of kink to his rear wing, but apart from that, managed to come away unscathed, considering some of the crashes I've actually seen at that turn 3 corner can actually write your car off. So, you know, although it was a slight mistake, just had a little bit of a spin, managed to pick up, coming back onto track in 12th place, and then has managed to make his way up to 8th at the moment, so on a real push, you see. But Roger needs to make sure that he tries to get the fastest lap times he can. His last lap time was a 2 minute, it was still 4/10 slower than the front two at the moment, so this strategy of maybe pitting slightly earlier might not pay off for Roger. But you know, it's probably about I'd say another 5 to 10 minutes before we start seeing all the cars coming into the pit lane, so it'd be interesting to see where Roger comes out after the round of the pits.
Yeah, we can see Havertz really pushing Prevost around now. Prevost has no choice but to keep up in his pace as the Lamborghini sits right in, and Havertz right in the slipstream this time. Will he try and have a run into sunset? Seen him go for that earlier inside line compared to the BMW, and he might just put his nose up the inside. Prevost goes to defend. You can see the Lamborghini looking around the outside. Prevost is not going to let him drive around the outside, is he? No way. Oh, and Havertz is trying it. He's trying it right round the outside. They're still side by side. Prevost with the nose ahead, but Havertz will have the inside line down into turn 1. And this is crucial for the championship as Havertz moves across. They door handle to door handle, and Havertz goes into the lead just as Lucas Lang, Bloom, and Powlich all head to pit lane. But now it's up the inside goes Prevost into turn number 3, and these two are still side by side. Don't touch, boys. Up on the curb is Havertz. Prevost getting the inside line again, but they're still side by side, and Prevost cuts the door off for Turkish driver and says, "No way through, you shall not pass."
That was a great set of corners with the two of them side by side. We've said all along, you know, you don't really want to be going side by side between turns 3 and 6, but those two obviously proving us wrong again that you can do it. They come to a little bit of blow, but coming out onto the big bend where obviously Bruno just cut the door, but a great attempt there from Havertz. It just shows his intent to try and make them passing opportunity stick. Unfortunately, you know, didn't quite cover off that line going into the first corner, which obviously gave the emphasis for Prevost to get that inside line coming down to turn 3, and then it was always going to be quite hard for Kieran to try and maintain it, but did his best to try and keep it there. But great racing between these two.
Yeah, great racing and respectful racing as well. They've both been very respectful to each other in the interviews and showing it out on track at the moment. But that is perfect news for Roger Christensen. We got the Norwegian driver 2 minutes 0.3 last time round, matching Thibaut Prevost. But that side-by-side action could have cost these guys a second, maybe a little bit more. As Havertz now again having a look. Prevost cuts his nose off and goes, "If you're coming round, you're coming round the outside." And Havertz goes for it again. You can't pull it off twice, can you? Prevost keeping it tight. Is Prevost heading to pit lane? Yes, he is. A bit of a late decision. Miravang follows him in, and yet again we see Kieran Havertz carry on. Now, Kieran Havertz lap time 2 minutes 0.8. So they lost about half a second on what their pace had been because of that incident. The McLaren of Niekamp moves up into second place with the pit stops because Prevost, Miravang, and Winkler have all pitted, and that will move Roger Christensen up into a possible 3rd place. Let's see where he comes out in comparison to Prevost and Miravang as Havertz carries on in front.
Yeah, while we watch Kieran trying to get a really good lap here to possibly come into the pit over Prevost, we'll have a quick shout out to one of our sponsors, Virtual Racing School, and improve your on-track performance with 50 plus data packs, road and oval racing setups, track guides, data analysis software and one-to-one coaching. Head over to virtualracingschool.com to find out all the wonderful products that they can offer to you. And going along with that is Apex Racing Academy. They offer 29 data packs, setups, track guides, and that one is fully integrated with the VRS system. Weekly group coaching sessions plus many more. So head over to ac.com to find out the different packages that they can offer to you. So going to be interesting now what sort of lap times, as Kieran has been sort of released from the clutches of Prevot, that he can now put in. Needs to be putting in some really quick lap times to try and leapfrog Prevot in the pit stop battle.
Yeah, we've got a change as well for provisionally third place. Miravan getting out ahead of Christensen, but the two RPC guys have lost 6 seconds to Prevost. So even with all that battling, they've lost a huge amount of time in the pits to Prevost and Havertz. So it will be a straight out fight on pit exit. Havertz in the pit lane now, so the Lamborghini driver heading into the pit, and it will be between him and Prevost. Will the McLaren pit this time? It looks like he will. Yes, it will. So no laps led for the McLaren. I would have just gone round again just to get a lap on the lead, but you know, if you're going to run out of fuel at the same time, maybe not. But here's Prevost. He heads down the back straight towards Sunset Bend. The lights ablaze on that Valkyrie competition. I do love that livery. I think it's been a welcome addition to the championship. But Havertz still not on pit exit. Here we go. This is going to be close. Prevost giving it absolutely everything. Pit exit for Havertz. This is going to be close, but I don't think Prevost will have enough. There is Havertz on the outside. Prevost will be up to speed, and I think it's going to be Havertz who's going to keep the lead. And Kieran Havertz now leads the race here at Sebring.
A great leapfrog there for Kieran Havertz, managing to get out in front of Prevost. Obviously, we did see the speed of Havertz, and did seem that Prevost was just maybe slightly holding him up, but just that one lap of being let loose has managed to get a gap over Thibaut Prevost at the moment. 0.8 of a second is the gap between the two. Out on track at the moment, so Kieran really needs to make sure he doesn't make any more mistakes like he did the first time around to lose that lead. If he can stay in front, I believe he has got the speed to make sure that he can win this race over Thibaut Prevost in second place. But like you said, the third place is up for grabs between the two teammates of Miravan and Christensen at the moment, so those two are battling it out on track, but being teammates, it's probably Miravan that will take that third place. But yeah, certainly going to be the battle of the giants at the front of this race, and I think at the moment Havertz does have that ace card with that Lamborghini at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Prevost will lose a bit of gap. I think, going off the top of my head, the gap could be 1 point at the end of this race if it stays as it is, to the advantage of Thibaut Prevost. That's what I'm thinking off the top of my head, but that's provisionally, and we'll, you know, my maths have been wrong before, so we'll
it's going to be close anyway. It's certainly going to be close.
Yeah, and 1 point would be a winner's takes all, and considering these two have really much dominated the top 2 places throughout the season, it's just so interesting that, you know, Havertz could have had that 5 points extra from racing Spa. Prevost lost second place on the last lap with the most bizarre wiggle at Watlings Glen, and we still don't know why that happened like that, but there's definitely a touch to a wall there by Prevost. We heard it through our ears, and he's 2.7 seconds. Havertz has gone off like a scalded cat. Is that the right idea by the Lamborghini driver?
I think he is just
pushing too hard. Yeah, he's obviously broke Prevost, but is it going to be? Is he going to just keep pushing a little bit too hard? We've seen it from him before, where he's crossed the line twice and made an extra lap of race that he didn't need to do. Once it worked for Thibaut Prevost because he gained 2 places in Spa, but then it didn't work at Watlings Glen because he lost a lap, so lost a position. So it's advantage Prevost to the extra lap that Kieran Havertz brings to you.
And also, just looking further down the field, it looks like Lang has really lost out in the pit stop battle. Carl Winkler and Bloom has managed to leapfrog Lang in the pit lane, and he's currently down in 8th place, is the Porsche driver, so losing out a little bit to Bloom and Winkler in front of him. So those two having a great pit stop, the two Lamborghinis, and Porsche is now sat behind them, so let's see what Lucas Lang can do. It's probably the closest battle at the moment out on track between these three drivers. Bloom currently occupying that 7th place, Carl Winkler there in 6th, and Lucas Lang in 7th place. So those three currently out on track following each other, and the rest of them, yeah, I mean, you got a battle there for 10th place with Thomas Wangen and Fernando Torres about half a second behind Roger Christensen, as we said before, with his Norwegian teammate Miravang in 3rd. There won't be much battling there, I don't think, Dave, between the two teammates, but certainly that battle for that 6th place will be an interesting one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I'm surprised you mentioned that without mentioning who's in 5th place.
Wow.
The Dutch McLaren, who will just let Andy go and have a sit down. The Dutch McLaren is up into 5th place. It's leapfrog all 3 of these cars in the race, up 3 positions overall. Carl Winkler up 4 positions, a bigger mover. But for a car which we don't often see in the championship, I think we may see it a lot more often next time there is a GT3 championship.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very underrated car. A lot of drivers don't drive it thinking it's not that quick, but it's an extremely quick car, and you know, it's the best looking GT3 car by far. And unfortunately, have they taken away the barbecue add-on at the back? Because I don't see
No, it's still going.
Is it still going?
Yeah, there we go.
You know, not seen it.
Yeah,
yet,
it's not as there isn't as much as it was at times. You know, you could be 4 seconds behind and burn the front of your car, but it is still flashing away there. So you can cook your brisket while you're racing around Sebring and then have it for your tea. But
exactly, yeah.
Nine Camp doing a brilliant job, considering this is the first, shall we say, the first race he's been able to do to that Watkins Glen start line crash. But just looking back in front, Kim Havertz has ran away from Prevost to a point. It's a nice, just trying to work out the gap now, is it about 2.6 seconds now? So yeah, 2.6 seconds, and Miravang and Christensen 8 seconds behind. What happened during them pit stop laps for Christensen and Miravang, I don't know, because Miravang was just behind Prevost when they both pitted. So 8 seconds, a huge loss. 3 seconds lost just in the pit stop alone, which is very strange because Prevost and Miravang both got BMWs. So have they filled up that little bit extra? Maybe they had a bit of damage they needed to sort out. I'm not too sure.
I think we saw this in quite a few rounds. The drivers are quite close to Kieran and Theobald before the pit stops, and somehow those two have just nailed every single pit stop and managed to come out nose to tail with each other, but always seem to have that big gap over the rivals in 3rd place. So I'm not sure how they do it. I mean, you can look at the pit stop times: 18.77 for Kieran, 18.7 for Theobald, and then you look at the rest of the guys front at Orman Virang, 21 seconds, and Roger Christensen 21 seconds. So there's the 3 seconds straight away lost. So very much difference in, like you say, fuel strategies, and the front two just seem to get it right all the time, and probably come over the line with a couple of litres to spare. Certainly, like you said, if Kieran just basically mistimes that start finish, I think he's done it in Spa and he did it in Watkins Glen as well. Just went over the line with like 2 seconds to spare. That got that extra lap in. So be interesting, like you say, to see if he can do it here. But that battle still for 6th place is still ongoing between Carl Winkler, Marcus Bloom, and Lucas Lang there for that last position in 6th place. But they're the 3 out on front with a wonderful looking pink. I mean, what a great colour as well. Is it pink or is that like purple? Purpley pink McLaren out in front.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the championship for this result, I think it was Lucas Lang won't be dropping this result. So him being in that position and Miravang being in 3rd is going to be a big plus for the Norwegian in terms of the championship. I'm just having a quick look if it will do somewhere. There we go. Lucas Lang dropped a score of 12th at this moment in time, where he will score his 8th, whereas Odin Miravang is dropped score of 12th, so he will score his 3rd place. So huge difference in scores there between Miravang and Lang. Still, obviously, an opportunity with them having such low drop scores to be able to make the difference in the final round, but it's certainly advantage to Miravang now in the championship.
Yeah, it's quite good that we've got these little pocket battles in the championship. You've got obviously Kiram Havas Prival, then you've got Miravang Lang fighting over that for the last position on that podium. So, you know, it's everything to play for in this round, and certainly lining it up as best you can for that last round that we have. But yeah, at the moment it's going the way that we were hoping it would in the commentary box, with Havas getting that race win to give us that grandstand finish at the final round. Sort of winner takes all between Kiram Havas and Preval, and there's going to be a really interesting race, so make sure you don't miss that one. But obviously still 14 minutes left here to go, but you can sort of see the gap now that Kiram has produced over Theobald Preval. 3.2 seconds is a gap, so the BMW driver there just I think resigning to the fact that he is going to be second place. But like you said, Dave, in the interview, is you know, he wasn't expected to be able to beat the Lamborghini. He did think that this would be the track for the Lamborghini, but it'd be interesting to see who he thinks the car of choice will be for the final outing at Imola in the last round.
Personally, I'd be saying whatever the other guys got, because you will want to take every bit of pressure off yourself for the championship finale. I was just having a look at the rest of the championship actually, with Jeremy Bonsuedo, who's 5th in the championship, not making this race. We're going to see Marit Paulich, Roger Christensen, who is fighting his teammate, but he seems to be following him home. 4th place will be enough for him to at least jump up a position in the championship. And it's also going to give Fernando Torres that chance of moving up. I think he'll move up into about 11th points, looking at what I'm seeing at the moment. So he's going to be so tantalisingly close to that top 10.
I so hope he gets it. You know, he's been here every single round, not been the quickest driver, but constantly put in the finishes round after round as Fernando Torres. We do talk about obviously these guys at the front, you know, they're fighting for the main championship, but it's people like Fernando Torres, and we've mentioned it before, is the consistency. He's not been the quickest, he's always been out on his own, and normally you see a lot of guys in the league racing, if they're that far behind, think, you know what, I'm not going to bother racing because I'm not going to win anything. But Fernando Torres just comes here round after round, you know, perfect sim racer really is. He knows he's not going to win anything, he knows he's not going to be at the front of the grid, but just comes out to have a bit of fun, driving the car around the track, and hopefully learning a bit of racecraft off the drivers around him. So, you know, like we always say, thanks Fernando Torres, and please come into the commentary booth at least one of the races so we can have a chat with you, and you know, thank you for just being in the round as well. We lost quite a few drivers, but one driver we can always put our house on to be within the race is Fernando Torres, and again profiting from the smaller grid. Obviously last week out he got his first top 10, I think it was 8th overall he finished last week, so a great outing, and he's getting better and better, and that's how you do then become one of these people at the front of the grid, is just constant consistency, which he certainly has. He just needs that little bit more speed, and it's not a lot more speed to be up with the mid pack going into the front pack.
Yeah, you only ever improve if you race the best, and that's what Fernando does. And you know, we sort of say, you know, he might be, I mean, he's just trying to work out how far he is off the lead now, about 50 seconds off the lead, but this guy almost won Daytona 500 official for his lobby at the weekend. I think there was an issue just near the end of the race, so it shows the speed that he has is just, you know, exceptional. Just at the moment, he's come across a grid of even more super exceptional drivers. One thing I am watching is the pace of a McLaren at the moment. He's just sneaking up towards Roger Christensen and Miravang. You can see them in the distance, and he's dragging that group along with him. So this battle for third place could suddenly be 7 cars by the end of this race.
Yeah, I mean, time's obviously running out, 11 minutes left, but I mean, the lap time difference was about 0.2 of a second, so there may be a little bit of gap, but certainly showing the speed of that McLaren out on track, holding off the 2 Lamborghinis behind him, plus obviously the Porsche. of Lang. Porsche's not really known for a fast car, but if you have watched this series, you know that Lucas Lang has managed to get the maximum speed out of that Porsche throughout the championship, and hence why he's up at the top of the championship fighting it out, really aggressively trying to fight the steering wheel there. We can see as we now jump on board with Lucas Lang, just trying to get up onto that, but at the moment can't seem to find the same or a little bit more pace than the Lamborghinis in front of them.
Yeah, it's just second half of the season hasn't gone the right way for Lucas at the moment, and his big opportunity, what we did say, was at Belle Isle, and the race didn't go quite to plan for him. So that is, since then it's sort of just been instant. I think he got caught up at Watkins Glen in the start line incident as well. So it's not quite gone to plan for Lucas Lang, but you know, you take the swings as they come at you, and he's still well in the top 5 of the championship. But I'm quite glad we're not on board with Thibaut Prevost at the moment, because I think he's having a sandwich and a picnic while he's going round. He's now 5.5 seconds behind Havertz. I had to get food in because we haven't talked about it yet. But Prevost is now 5.5 seconds behind Havertz, and just trying to bring it home and hope Havertz makes a mistake now. But even at this stage, Havertz is so far ahead that if he makes a mistake, he'll probably keep the lead unless it's a big mistake.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the tyre wear on this BMW may be coming into effect because it's one of them tracks with really tight corners. The tyre wear on that BMW might be a lot higher than the Lamborghini, and hence why the lap times where Kieran is able to maintain the speed the BMW is just slightly going off the boil a little bit here. Obviously we had the really interesting battle between the two round turns 3 to 6 about 5 laps ago, but since then Kieran has just put his foot down, managed to get out front and extended the lead, you know, and unfortunately Theobald cannot keep up with the pace of the Lamborghini in front. Still 4 seconds ahead of Miravang in 3rd place, so pretty much barring any unforeseen wheel wiggling from Theobald, he should be able to secure that 2nd place. Currently only 8 minutes left of this hour-long race around the Sebring International Speedway.
Yeah, the gap's actually 9 seconds. It's the intervals on the screen. I know why you. Well, I know why you said 4. It's very easy to do. It's a different timing towers. There we go. Thank you, Lewis.
There we go.
Yeah. So 14 seconds back are the Norwegians, which, to be honest, is about where they've been throughout the season. And you've got to remember, in the middle of this race, Prevost and Havertz were just playing chicken with each other. So they weren't even pushing that hard at that stage. Roger Christensen now dips into the 59s for the first time today. So he's certainly not backing off the back of his teammate at the moment. So I wonder what Miravang's thinking about that at this moment in time. Stay back, boy, stay back.
But we rejoin this battle here for 5th place now. Niekamp has just managed to be clawed in by Carl Winkler in 6th place, with Bloom just behind him in 7th and Lang. So now it's a four-car race here to get that 5th position between sort of Niekamp just managed to get off from Christensen in front, was sort of catching him, but slowed it down a little bit, and obviously that's what's brought him back into the touches of Carl Winkler there at 6th, but still managing just to keep that little bit of an arms gap. Does Niekamp there in 5th place over the German in 6th place, so just hopefully keeping him out there and still keeping the pace, but be great for him after obviously the disaster that was Watkins Glen, literally his first round in the championship. I think he lasted 2 corners before all the mayhem going up the S's. So it's good to see him actually being able to possibly finish. Obviously, hopefully I haven't contacted him to finish this race. So it'd be a great result for him. Although in the big contest doesn't mean a lot. It's always good to know that you're in the mix with what would be the rest of the teams that you're fighting with if you were to join the next season.
Yeah, that's the whole reason Niekamp has joined the season. Get his eye-in ready for possibly next season if he joins, or just for fun of it. And it'll be looking at individual results as we go along. Mount Powlich's charge back through the field has sort of slowed, and he hasn't even caught the back of his pack yet. 7 seconds off the back. So this will continue on for 5th place and not quite closing that gap down. It's 6/10 closer that time by towards Christensen and Mirrorang. So maybe they just haven't given up just yet, but the gap is probably a little too large for those guys to close up. Looking further back, Chetty is the last of our runners in 14th, Brian Crew 13th, Leodor Depp 12th, Torres 11th, and Wangan is in 10th. So it's a close battles throughout the field. I'm not really sure what's happened. I mean, Thomas Wangan had the mistake earlier on, but has really struggled to try and catch up with the back of the pack as we see the battle into the hairpin. Is that the inside on the McLaren taken by Carl Winkler? I'm not too sure. Can't see from Lucas Lang because the big backside of the Lamborghini is in the way. But Carl Winkler was certainly taking a different line into it. No, it looks like Carl Winkler is still behind Nikam, but definitely had a look into the hairpin.
He's going to be feeling the pressure as that McLaren driver with the 2 Lamborghinis and the Porsche bearing down on him from behind. So it's going to be an interesting end to the race for this battle out on track. But certainly what is not going to be interesting is the battle for that first place at the moment. Kieran Havas 6.7 seconds ahead of Theobald Prevost. He's sort of like checked out now. Theobald has basically just said, you know what, I'll let you have it. You are the faster man today. I'm just going to have to secure this 2nd place and put it all down to the last round of the season. But still all very close. You can see them all there, literally on the same straight, although the fronts were right at the sunset bend while the others were coming around Le Mans. But still, you know, the top half of the field has been relatively close together in this hour-long race.
Yeah, compared to what we've seen at times, even though the top 2 are pulled away, 3rd place down to 9th place is covered by 12 seconds. And they're all in that shot just then. You just saw Paulich coming into the background. Lucas Langers woke up and suddenly set a 2-minute 1, which is his best result, his best lap of the race. So that Porsche coming to him in the later stages, can he get past any of these Lamborghinis and the McLaren in front to give himself a better chance of 3rd in the championship? And Christensen still pushing Miravang along. But yeah, like you say, with Prevost, it's just, I will finish this race. Provisionally, I will have a 1-point lead. Let's take it to the final round at Imola and let's see who comes out on top there. But I think both drivers will be furiously practicing around that circuit in the next week.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't ask more from a championship, is it, to have a grandstand finish for the championship, and also for the minor places as well, a little bit lower down in the championship. This sets it up quite nicely for throughout the grid between Mirovang and Lang that we're currently watching on screen. Could do with trying to possibly overtake at least one of the Lamborghinis in front of you, but at the moment doesn't seem to have the pace. And as I say that, it looks like he might be making a move here on Bloom, just trying to get that inside line there. Bloom just pushing him out wide, coming down into the Le Mans corner, but certainly showing his intent and really wants that last place. So just watch his battle and let's see if he maybe tries to make a move down into Sunset, but certainly tucked right up behind the rear bumper of Bloom is Lang, so he has got an opportunity to go down the inside. It depends on how brave he wants to be.
Yeah, right in the slipstream, but that Porsche just doesn't have the grunt to get that extra, but he gets a cut back underneath and can't get the acceleration down, so has to settle for sitting behind the Lamborghini once again as the white flag is flying. Kerm Havertz is leading by 7 seconds now. The Turkish driver has cleared off into the distance. Let's make sure that Havertz and Prevost get through this final lap unscathed, unlike the last race, and we have a championship finale to remember at Imola. Here is Havertz. He took the lead. He had a half spin through the race, just got missed by his championship rival. That could have been the end of the day for both of them. But Prevost managed to get through. Havertz got going again, got to the pit stops behind Prevost, and then pushed his way back through during the pit stops, pushing that stint just a couple of laps longer. It was just enough to beat the Dutchman, and these two have been the class of the field yet again in this fight. Christensen and Mirvang very close together, but as Kim Havertz comes through Le Mans for the final time, keeps it within track limits all the way, uses all of the left-hand side of the curb, and he heads down towards sunset as the sun does start setting here at Sebring. The Lamborghini lights ablaze. There comes the BMW of Valkyrie competition, but Kim Havertz breaks down into a final corner, and he will go into the championship challenge of the final round about 1 point behind Thibaut Prevot with this result. So Kim Havertz wins at Sebring and opens the championship fight up, and we have an F1 style finale as Thibaut Prevot comes in second, and 1 point will cover these two drivers provisionally in the championship. Audin Mirvang will come home in third ahead of Roger Christensen. We sort of expected that with them two together. McLaren not far behind in the end, only 2 seconds back. A great result for the McLaren. Carl Winkler comes home in sixth. That's a good race by him, up 4 places. Marcus Bloom holds off Lucas Langfield, disappointed with 8th. Powlich even more disappointed with 9th. He won't even get to turn 1 before he quits the sim. And Thomas Wangen is now coming down back straight for 10th place.
Yeah, I mean, Thomas Wang is he's had a bit of a chalk and cheese championship. As rounds where he does really well, and then he has equally rounds that he does really bad with, and I think that's what's put real pay to Thomas Wangen's championship. If it was all the rounds that he maybe was good at, then it might be different, but it's just been a chalk and cheese season for Thomas Wangen, which is a bit unfortunate. Michael Palich in that race, you know, had that little spin, was in third place, spun the car, and unfortunately was recovering well. Then after the round of pit stop, it sort of went neutral really, and he wasn't really making any ground up on the race in front of him. So a bit of a blur round there for Powlich. Overall, bit of a disappointment for himself at the start, because he was, you know, man on the charge certainly at the front of the race, and maybe been able to challenge Havertz and Prevot, but we'll obviously never know now as he finishes down there in 9th place. But what we can say is that, you know, this last round is going to be one to remember. So over to the results to you, Dave.
Kim Havertz takes yet another win this season. Top step being smothered by the Turkish driver. I'm just going to actually have a quick look. I think it's his 5th win of the season. So he is the most winning driver this season, but still will sit second place, 1 point behind Thibaut Prevot, who takes second place to better his score just slightly enough to keep that championship lead. Third place in hand as his drop score. Audrey Mirvang takes third place and will stay third place in the championship, extending his lead over Lucas Lang, while Roger Christensen with 4th place will certainly jump up the order, possibly into the top 5. A great job by the young driver, young Norwegian. Weevil Niekamp brought the McLaren home in 5th, a great result for McLaren, just ahead of Carl Winkler and Marcus Bloom for Core Sim Racing in the Lamborghinis. Lucas Lang in the Porsche in 8th, Matt Powlich in 9th, and Thomas Wangen in 10th. Fernando Torres just missing out on yet another top 10 in 11th, Anders Lear Jordet, another driver who is always here and always consistent with his times, in 12th, Ryan Kroon 13th, and Filippo Puccetti rounding out the finishers in 14th. Jeremy Bonsuado not making start, which means that all 14 drivers finished on the lead lap.
Definitely, I mean, it was a great race, and you have the man of the hour currently in the interview area waiting to come in. So Dave, I don't know if you want to speak to our race winner here at Sebring, Kieran Pavas.
Kieran, that's the 5th win of the season for you. One you really did have to win, keep this championship alive.
Oh yeah, for sure. I knew I had to win like Watkins and the Sebring to carry the championship decider to the Imola. So I did my best. It was quite tough. Much tougher than the Watkins, because I knew Prevot had much less wing than me, so it was quite hard to fight with him. So I had to save fuel behind him to get away from him on the draft, and yeah, it worked quite well.
Yeah, we saw you make a slight mistake into turn 3. Was that just pinching too many gears or too much braking into there, which lost you the lead at one point?
Yeah, I was saving quite a bit of fuel, so I was lifting, and you know, when you lift, you have a less top speed, so you can brake a bit later. But I braked too late, and yeah, car didn't handle well. I almost lost the car completely there, and very kudos to Pro. He just avoid hitting me. Yeah, I really thank to him for that.
Yeah, it looked very close, but both drivers managed to continue it. And then you, like you say, you followed him through pit stop phase, and then managed to go then a couple of laps longer, which is something we've seen from you before. And then sort of cruised to victory. I think Thibaut sort of realised the game was up once he was back behind you. Going into the final round, what are your sort of thoughts? We believe you're 1 point behind Thibaut going into the final round.
Yeah, I think I'm 1 point behind him. Like, it was 8 points before this round, so it's 1 now, I think. And yeah, it's gonna be very exciting for sure on the Imola. And the last 3 tracks, I was really confident in it, especially the Sebring and Imola. But Imola has new off-track system since this season, I think. I did a bit of practice on it, and it's not looking very well. So I'll try to get used to it more, and we'll see what happens on the race.
Yeah, we knew you were confident around here when in practice everyone had done about 20 laps and you did 2 and popped to the top of the timesheets by half a second. So we knew you were confident around here. But yeah, so congratulations on this result here at Sebring, your 5th win of the season. And before we let you go, is there anybody you want to say thanks to?
Oh yeah, once again my team as always, and
You there, Kieran? Kieran just got off. Okay, there was Kieran there, our first place finisher, and gives us that grandstand finish for the last round. So good luck to Kieran. I think he was obviously thanking everyone at PGZ Assistance for his setup like he does every single week. But what we do have is our 2nd place and our current championship leader at the moment by the slenderest of marching is Theobald Prevost. I mean, Theobald, you came on the comms last week and you weren't that confident with the BMW around here. You gave a real good showing in the first 3 quarters of this race, but sort of petered off at the end. Was it the tyres, or did you just thought, I'm just going to put it down to the last race?
Yeah, hello everyone. So like every races, I guess, I'm good at the beginning until pit stop, and then I just struggle so much and I can't do anything against the Lambo.
I mean, what you have done, and I do thank you for this, and I know you planned this all along, is a last round shootout between yourself and Kieran. The winner takes all here, and you just wanted to give us a great finale. So everyone here at Apex and our viewers are all thanking you for that. But I'm pretty sure that maybe that's not where you wanted it to be. But what are your thoughts going into the last round?
Right now I'm pretty mad because I had a shot today, I think. I only did 1 mistake on my outlap after the pit stop. I did just 1 tiny mistake, cost me 2 tenths, and I just lost the Karim. And then when I tried to get back in the slipstream, I got a slowdown on the flat out kink, so stupid. And yeah, I was pretty mad. But for the last round, I have no idea what to think, to be honest. I know Karim is very good on Imola, and so it's gonna be really hard.
It is, but I mean, you two have been a class apart from the rest of the field in this championship, and it's been nose to tail all the way through. I mean, it's just been so entertaining. It's either yourself or Kieran taking that first place. No other driver has won a race in this championship at the moment, and I think it's quite fitting that it comes down to the very last round between you two, and literally a winner takes all stakes. I mean, it's pretty exciting for the viewers, but I'd imagine it's pretty nerve-wracking for you as a driver.
Yeah, honestly, it's gonna be crispy, I guess, between the two of us at the beginning of the race, as it was on this one. Actually, try to fight to get P1 back, and yeah, don't know where my mind is gonna be for the last race, but I'll do my best to win it.
Well, there's plenty of time between now and then to put the practice in for yourself here, But before we let you go, mate, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, still my whole team, Valkyrie again. And yeah, that's it.
Yep. Okay, there's the about the man. A few words there for the thanks, but it's thanks from us at Apex for what is going to be an absolutely thrilling. So thanks a lot, Theobald, and look forward to seeing you next week, mate.
Thank you. Goodbye.
And for first time this season, we've got the top 3, so we do have Odin Miravan. We'll get him in for a quick interview, Dave, and you can have a few words with Odin.
Hey.
Hi, Arden. Great result for you. Another podium. Your season seems to be a bit back on track now.
Yeah, a little bit, maybe. It's been a bit up and down with tracks I don't like, so finally one of my favorites, but yeah.
Yeah, you seem to be in a good battle with Roger throughout the race, and Marek Paulich, who had a brilliant start but then made a mistake quite early on. Was it a team decision for you to finish ahead of Roger, or was it just a flat-out battle all the way to the end?
For me, it was flat out. I don't know about Roger. He's way faster than me, so I'm guessing he made a decision of letting me go ahead. I'm not sure. He didn't say anything, but
I'll be honest, he was pushing you at the end, setting his fastest laps of the race. So
yeah.
we did suspect it was a battle all the way to the end. But you now have quite a bit of a lead on Lucas Lang going into the final round for 3rd place after Lucas finished down in 8th place. Does that change your mindset for Imola in terms of trying to keep that 3rd place in the championship?
No, I think I've tried to get the 3rd place all along, so I'm just gonna stick with it and try and secure it, but you never know what happens. I'm hoping I'm gonna get it in the end.
And your team also looked really good for the teams championship as well.
Yeah, it's been a great season, I think, actually.
One thing I do want to ask Odin, obviously we're going to rename it as the Battle of the Titans. Where are you lying between Kieran and Theobald for the championship win in the last round?
If I were in line with them, I think they're in like their own league. So
who do you think is going to come out on top between them two? You going to put it on the line?
That's a hard one. I was just talking to Karim that maybe I should watch it instead of racing the next round because it's going to be so exciting. So I don't know. I think I wish them both good luck. That's all I'm going to say about that.
A very sit on the fence answer, obviously there, but no, it's certainly going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting finale for a lot of positions down the championship. Congratulations on your 3rd place. Before you go, is there anybody you want to give a shout out to?
As always, it's of course my wife. It's a #1 fan, you know, and my team. It's an amazing team. I enjoy working with them, and they're just good fun to be around. So of course, there's a shout out to them, and I have another friend in the field. That's he hasn't been too far up, but he's not been at the bottom either. So I want to shout out to Anders Lillejorda. He's my one of my best friends in the iRacing world.
Yeah, Anders doing a solid job all year, keeping it going on his results and getting better and better. So looking like a top 10 for him. So thank you for joining us, Odin Mirivang, 3rd place here at Sebring.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I mean, we couldn't ask for anything more, Dave. Really, you know, we got what we asked for at the top of the broadcast, where Kieran really needed to win this round. He's done it now, and now giving us the grandstand finale. I do hope the winner comes out on track and not by maybe a slight incident or controversy like we saw in the F1, because I think these two drivers do need to, you know, deserve the accolade of getting that win out on track and getting over that finish line.
Yeah, we're in a position where we may as well stick them two out on track for now and just let them battle it out, because it is literally winner takes all. Anybody, you know, we've had this is round number 8. We've had 8 rounds, 2 drivers, 2 different teams. Him starting as a privateer, and now they're separated by 1 point.
I mean, if that doesn't entice you to come back for next week for the final round in Imola, I do not know. But that ends the broadcast here at the Sebring International Raceway. We have a grandstand finish for the top spot next week at Imola. So please join us then. Same time, same format. 2 drivers at the front, just battling it out. Winner takes all at Imola between Kieran Havas and Theobald Prevost. So join us next week, same time here on Apex Racing TV. So from myself, Andy Thompson, from Dave Whitehouse, joining alongside me in the commentary box, and not forgetting our wonderful Lewis O'Hara in the production blocks. We bid you farewell and look forward to seeing you next week for the grandstand finale.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers, including Peter Berryman, John Robertson, Brandon Trano, and IndyCar World Champion Alex Palou. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.